Hi there, friends, and welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. I'm Cassie. Today we're going to be playing with the adorable This Calls for Toast stamp set. I had mentioned in a previous video how much I absolutely love this set because it's good for all the things, anything you'd want to congratulate. And so I'm going to make a retirement card today, but I love that set. We also have some mixed media paper, and then I picked out these colors. I was kind of going for a Florida vibe. I'll explain as I make it, but yeah, so I pulled out this mixed media paper and I've cut it down. It's actually 4 inches by 6 inches right now. I'm going to have to trim that down a little bit more, but I wanted to make my background before I actually did that. So I have a piece of acetate. You saw me kind of looking for that earlier. If you stick that down on one of these white glass boards, you're bound to lose it. But what I'm doing here is what I like to call controlled ink smushing. I do all the types of ink smushing, but this one is great because it does allow you a little bit more control. So I just have a tiny piece of acetate that I've cut down. You could even use packaging from one of your stamp sets or whatever, and then you can wipe it off and, no one's the wiser that you used it for that. But all I'm doing is squishing that ink down onto that acetate, and I'm spritzing it with water. And then I'm working my way up with the colors. And as you can see, then I can just pick it up and put down the color where I want it. You're still going to kind of get a different effect every time you do this because it's just impossible to get the same kind of, or same background. You can get the same kind of background, but the same background each time simply because of the nature of the way we're doing this. I'm going to heat set this in between because I do want to do a little bit more to this background. I love making backgrounds like this because you can make them so super textured, and this mixed media paper is absolutely perfect for it. It can hold the water, it can hold the different things, the different types of mixed media. And so we're going to focus just on the inks today. So that first color is Peacock Feathers. That's the one I used, and we're going to go back in there and layer it up on top of each other. This is how you really can get that texture going. That next color that I used was Salvaged Patina, and I'm only spritzing with water once on each of these now. So earlier I did 2 times. Now I want to have a lot more of that color being a little bit more defined, if that makes any sense. So I'm just spritzing it once, and that way I can get those really tiny like droplets of it. And then we're gonna keep layering that up. It's okay for them to kind of overlap. That's the color combo that I chose, and I really love where the picked raspberry kind of goes over the top of that Salvaged Patina. And the last color is Kitsch Flamingo. So love this color combo. Like I said, I was trying to go for a Florida vibe. I'm going to make a retirement card. I was doing this last minute and I was thinking, okay, we're going with a Florida vibe because the person I want to make this for is headed to Florida as soon as they retire. And that was later on this day that I made this card. And it was for a man. I didn't end up giving it to him because I did ask my husband. I was like, what do you think? He's like, it's a little too girly. And I was like, yeah, I can see where you're going. I was really offended at first, but then I could see what he meant by that. Because in all honesty, this is a gentleman in his 60s. And yes, he's moving to Florida, but he's in his 60s and he was a military guy, 47 years total of service to the military, and whether that be active duty or through the civilian ranks. And so after I made it, I could see what he was talking about, when I've really thought about it. But I love this card. I'm so excited with how this turned out. As you saw, I blended color on top of it to add more. And then I spritzed a little water on it. I'm just kind of wiping that up, and I'll show you how textured and beautiful this card looks. And the paper, even though I did all that stuff to it, is fine. I mean, it looks great. I love how this background turned out. So happy with it. All right, now that our background is done, I'm going to bring in the images from that This Calls for a Toast. And I've just brought in the toaster and the toast. And, I heard somebody say, why would you not want to put the faces on it? Well, at the time I was thinking this is going to go for that guy, and this would make it a little less feminine, but anyway, yeah, so I just stamped out the toaster and the toast, and I'm actually going to bring in these Distress Spritz. So I've got the colors Weathered Wood and Walnut Stain. This one's the Walnut Stain. I'm just going to kind of keep moving that around until I get all the mica bits at the bottom blended in with the rest. I'll spritz that onto my glass mat, and I'm going to actually just paint with it. I really like how this looks. It does have that shimmer to it, which is so neat. I like that there are little spritz bottles of each of the colors. You can get those. And I like that. So I am going to do that. I'm going to bring in some other colors. We've got some antique linen. I want that for the inside of the toast. So I'm going to paint parts of the inside of the toast with it. And then I'm going to come back in with some, I guess I go with vintage photo maybe. Yeah, some vintage photo, and I mix that with that walnut stain, and then I'm going back over the toast portion itself. And I did get some of it outside of onto the inside of the toast, and so this is where I decided I'm going to go ahead and do some splatter, just because, yeah, I think splatter covers up a multitude of problems. So I love to do it. And the way that dries out, I actually really, really like that. I'm doing the same thing with our weathered wood. Now the weathered wood to me is more of like a blue-gray. And so I'm mixing that with my peacock feathers to make my toaster. I want to bring in some of those colors. Now I do have the Distress Spritz in the peacock feathers, but I just decided that I wanted this toaster to be kind of a mix of silvers and the peacock feathers. So I'm doing the two of them together and just kind of going back over the top of that. You can tell this definitely looks watercolored. That's the look I was going for. So I do like that. And it's just another way to use that product. So if you have it, give it a try. Try watercoloring with it, see how you like it, what you feel, and mix it with your distress inks. That's why this glass mat is fabulous, because I can just put those colors down and I can, mix whatever I want. We're going to go back in a little bit more with some of that weathered wood, add a little more depth to the edges, and then I'll add some water and blend that out. And once again, we're going to do some splatter on this just because I like it. I think it ties it all together. All right, I'm going to make sure that this is nice and dry before I move on to the next step, which is die cutting these out using those matching dies from This Calls for a Toast. And there are so many sentiments on this Calls for a Toast. Like I said, you could use this for so many things. Anything you'd want to toast to, any sort of congratulations. So you got weddings and graduations, or congratulations on anything you've done. So at this point, I'm kind of playing around with the toaster, and then I decide to bring in my clean cut layers, set A, because I want to cut a circle out of some white cardstock. That'll just kind of break up the background a little bit in the image so that the image will stand out on its own. And I'm pulling out the sentiments that I want, and I'm going to ink those up with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and we'll stamp those out. That's just a nice crisp black ink. A toast to, and then it has the word your. That's the next one I'm going to stamp out. And then the last word I'll stamp out is retirement. And I kept them farther away from each other because I wasn't sure what kind of a border I wanted on either side. So I'm going to trim these down. And then I am going to play around with the placement of everything. Once I get this trimmed down, I'm going to use my guillotine trimmer to do so. It's the easiest way I've found for me to just kind of trim these up. You could use your scissors as well, or whatever you might have. But yeah, I'm going to trim these down and leave a border on that left-hand side of each of the words. Because originally I was thinking I'll just have this all line up on that left-hand side. And then after playing with it a little bit, I decided to trim down the words entirely. And then we'll place them how we want to. So I have a card base that measured 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and was scored at 4 1/4. So this is the full front of an A2 size card. And I had earlier trimmed down my panel to be 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. So there is a white border on that right-hand side. And then I'm going to play around again with some more placement. I decided to move the toaster up more towards the top, and then we'll put our sentiments down at the bottom. And I'm just going to use my liquid glue to adhere down my circle. I'll adhere my toast to my toaster using some liquid glue, and then I'm going to grab in some of those adhesive foam strips that Trinity Stamps has. I love those. They're nice and thin, and they work really well on sentiments, well, on everything that you would want to put up on a foam tape. And so I'm just going to cover the complete back of our toaster and our toast, and I'm also going to do the words as well. And then we'll peel off all that release paper and we can stick each part down. A toast to your retirement. And once I finally decided this was not going to be for a man, I do decide to put some embellishments on the outside, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp the piece of toast on the inside using the Salvaged Patina. And no, those distress inks are not formulated for stamping, but on the inside of a card, it really doesn't matter. And then that sentiment I put on the inside, the best is yet to crumb. I just thought that was fabulous. And the embellishments I have decided to use are these absolutely gorgeous heart-shaped bubbles. So they're really beautiful and they're shaped like hearts. I just use my pickup stick to pick them up and a little bit of liquid glue to adhere them down, and those babies aren't going anywhere. They do add a little bit of depth to your card, so when you go to mail this, you might want to put a little piece of paper over the top so nothing comes through the envelope. But that's going to finish off our card for today. I really love how this turned out. I love that I have a retirement card all ready to go. For whoever it might go to. But yes, I love it. So if you like this card or this video, please hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And big thanks for sticking around, watching my videos, using my affiliate links, all that stuff. It really does help me continue to produce videos. And thanks again, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.